Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is games leaving my collection for the month of August. As usual, a few disclaimers before we dive into anything, and of course, timestamps to everything down below. But first and foremost, in general, I say this every single month, but it's always a good reminder, I get a lot of games. I play a lot of games. I'm currently on track to play more than a new game every single day this year, and as a result, that means inevitably I have to get rid of games. It's not that the game is bad, it's that when you have 350 new games a year that you are covering, some of them stand the test of time, but the general expectation is that most games that I play will not stick around. I say that as a reminder for multiple things, but the biggest one being that these are not bad games, and the rotation of my games is very much a victim of, well, the amount of games I play every single year, and does not reflect too much on those games. I'll still go into the reasons, I'll still talk about why one didn't get played as much as I thought it would, why one didn't, why something that I loved once upon a time may have started to leave. I will talk about those things, but the reality is, unless I want to add 350 new games to my collection every single year, games have to leave. And then secondly, if you are a Patreon, I do give away some of these games over on Patreon every single month. So if you are a Patreon, generally I give, well, there's a few different options. Higher patrons are almost guaranteed to get a game, versus if you're on the regular Patreon or at lower levels, I give away a few every month just in case. But yeah, if you are a Patreon over there, there are options to get some of these games. Not all of them. The more expensive ones do often go, the more expensive ones, the more, I don't know, you'll see, there's one or two in this video, but most of these are eligible to be given away. In any case, let's go ahead and dive into it. Let's start off with, I don't even know where to begin. It's been too long of a prelude, and I will say the last one on this list is one that is a game that I very much loved, and decided to get rid of it today, so we'll see what happens there. But let's start off with something a little easier. Let's start off with something as simple as, nope, I don't know why this is here. This is not going away. This is Combo Palace. I have all that. It's sticking over here. This is the one that's going away. This is Inside Job from Cosmos. A good game. I had fun with this one. I have a review on my channel. In general, about like 60-70% of these will have reviews, and others will either be updates or, well, wait, let's get into it. Inside Job is a trick-taking game that has a degree of hidden trader to it. So what you're doing in this game is you are, well, you're trying to accomplish tricks, but you also have someone on your team who's trying to obfuscate those tricks and get in the way. I enjoyed it, but in the summation of what I said in my review is that I think I've played better trick-taking games and better hidden trader games. The combination of them, I've seen it done before in Shamans. I prefer Inside Job, but still not enough to ever really pick this over the Crew. So I'd rather play One Night Ultimate Werewolf, and I'd rather play the Crew than playing Inside Job. So it's not that it's bad. I enjoyed it, had a good time with it, but I think that I still find the combination doesn't give me a more rewarding experience. It gives me a good experience, but not one that I love. We have Shards of Infinity over here. This one I recently covered. It's been around for a while. I have a few of these deck builders around, and I'd say Shards of Infinity over here. I have Star Realms over there. So I have a bunch of these deck building games that are light and fun and simple. Shards of Infinity is a good game. I do enjoy it. I just find that Star Realms, I tend to, even though I think there are good reasons to prefer Shards of Infinity, I find ultimately I do tend to spend more time with Star Realms. I do tend to prefer Star Realms as a system, and so ultimately Shards of Infinity, great game, good game, but one that I just prefer Star Realms over, and so for right now Star Realms sticks around, but even Star Realms isn't safe forever. It is a game that I've played a lot, and I don't know if it's one that I always need to table. Then we have over here, again, this one's not the right one over here. I apparently had piles mixed together. We have Maps of Misterra over here. Maps of Misterra, this is a new one from Sit Down Games that I've had fun with. I've enjoyed it, but I think this is one, some games, I've always compared games to movies in the sense that some movies you want to watch again, and other movies you just want to watch. Maps of Misterra, I genuinely enjoy. I think it's very unique. It's a very unique puzzle because effectively what you're doing is you are mapping out an island, but the thing that makes it very unique is you are mapping out an island to try to determine what the island looks like, but also trying to be a little bit just, mindful that your sponsor has certain preconceived notions of what the island looks like. And so there's a combination of mapping out the island to make it, accurate, but also trying to match your sponsor. And so you're playing this kind of double-edged sword where it's not actually necessarily about being right so much as it is about maximizing your points with different goals. Very interesting theme. I like the way it kind of approaches it, but it does feel a little bit disconnected at times because of it. Overall, I thought it was very charming, very much enjoyed it. I do recommend checking it out. I think they have an implementation on BGA, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't tried it there, so I don't know if it's a good one or not, but I think it was in beta at one point, so I don't know if it's available or not. But either way, I think Master Misterra is very charming, very enjoyable, but one of those games that I'm happy to play a few times and I don't need to hold on to forever. Then we have, it's also a good time to mention that from the games that do not get given away over on Patreon, many of these will make their way to the Level Up library because, you know, you need to have games in a library. And so these are always good opportunities to you know, take games that I do enjoy, but not necessarily enough to keep and hold on to and to be amongst the games I'm going to hold on to for a very long time and put them into a library where they can be enjoyed by a much larger group of people, hopefully. Then we have Lords of Vaala over here. Lords of Vaala Dragonbond. This one's in Shrink. And these, I always feel bad about these. And this does happen. I don't have a great solution about what to do with this. Effectively, I cover a lot of games, I talk about a lot of games, I get excited about a lot of games, and sometimes I will back a game that I was very excited for, and then when the push comes to shove, when it's time for it to actually arrive and play, sometimes I don't necessarily table them. This actually happened recently. I talked about this. There's a video I talked about this, and I don't remember what the video was, but there was a video I talked about this, where I talked about this one, and I don't remember what it was, but it's a 2-player game whose name is escaping right now, where both of them kind of arrived at the same time, and both of them I was like, what, am I excited about them or not? Do I like them as much as I thought I did or not? And the 2-player one kind of sat there, but then I played it. I can't remember the name of it. It's blanking. It's Steamforge recently picked it up, but I'm blanking on the name. Either way, but that one I played, I dove into it, and I was like, I like it just as much as I thought it did, and it's holding strong, it's sticking around, and it's great. And this one, I kind of came to the realization that I do like it. I know I like it, that's not the question. The problem is, it's specifically a game that plays best at 4 players, and there's so many games in my collection that are not getting that table time right now. If I were playing more 4-player games, Lords of Dragonbond would probably stick around. As it is, this is the kind of game that I'm going to happily put into the Level Up Retreat library, and it can get played there, either by me, by others, I don't know. It has a variety, it even has a solo mode. I just found that the nature of what the game did, I thought it felt like it optimized best at 4 players. So a good game, a game I recommend. For me, the problem is the lack of 4-player games that are currently getting tabled in my collection. Then we do have 2 button shy games, just not combo polish over here. We have Wildtails and Riverwild. I did a trifecta of reviews for Ancient Realms, for Riverwild, and for Wildtails. A trifecta of 3 different button shy reviews, and Ancient Realms I loved. One of my new favorite button shy games. On the other hand, Riverwild I thought was okay at best, and I thought Wildtails was also okay at best, but with a lot of rules and not a ton of rules overhead, but this one, it felt not simple to dive into and get this one running, and the payoff was definitely not worth it. So both of them to me are passes, unfortunately. I don't think they're bad. I think they're both fine, but in a world full of amazing button shy games, I wouldn't recommend these specifically. I think that they're just better game systems. I think Wildtails is very innovative, trying to have a legacy game in 18 cards. Very innovative. Applaud's the wrong word for that. Kudos for that, I guess. Kudos for that level of design decision space, but ultimately the payoff wasn't worth it for me. So these ones are the first. Like, these are all great games. These are the first ones where I'm kind of like, you know what, I don't know if I needed those or would recommend them. Don't think they're bad, just wouldn't recommend them. Then we have Cantaloop. Cantaloop is delightful. Now, I did not finish this one, unfortunately. That does happen with some of these games, but Cantaloop is it's a kind of first-person adventure. Not really. I don't know. I said that. It's Myst. It's Myst the board game. Now, there are 3 of these: Cantaloop Season 1, 2, and 3. I've only played through most of 1, not all of 1, but it's a very fascinating game of matching up cards to try to figure out a puzzle. Very escape room in the approach it takes. I think it's excellent. Genuinely excellent. The problem is I played through a bunch of it and then kind of let it sit on the shelf, and then let it sit on the shelf, and let it sit on the shelf, and realized I wasn't getting back to it. I think it really is great. Possibly, I don't know, it's one of those things where the nature of having so many games does mean that games that take a longer arc to finish, sometimes I have that level of commitment for them, depending how much I enjoy them. I do think Cantaloop is great, but I realized I wasn't pulling it off the shelf to continue to table it, and in the world full of amazing games that I would like to get tabled, Cantaloop is great. Like, this is one of those hard things, because I want to play Season 2, I want to play Season 3, I thought this was excellent, but I'm not pulling off the shelf, and so ultimately it's going to go away. This one I need to debate. I need to think, like, this one might be good for the Level Up library. I need to think about it. Alternatively, if you're a patron and want this one, I highly recommend it. Then we have Zombie Kidz. This is fantastic. I just finished it. That's all. This one is going to go in the garbage after this video because it's a legacy game that's been played through. And I don't think that's something I want to put in the library or give away to anyone. So, I mean, you could keep playing it if you wanted to, but I wouldn't recommend it. Zombie Kidz from Scorpion Mask. It's a fun little legacy game. Great for kids. It's not one I'd recommend for adults, not by a long shot, but for kids I think it's excellent. I think it's great. And I do think it's really solid. I'm really playing through Zombie Teens Evolution with my kids right now. Enjoying that. But this is great. And I finished it. So, it goes away now. Then we have Bites. Bites is one that I've wrestled with for a long time. All play in general, board game tables, all play. They put out fantastic games, and ultimately this one is a good game. I think it's a really good game. The biggest problem I have with Bytes is that it's a little too long and light for a game that I'll play with my regular game group, and my kids don't ask for it as much. They enjoy it, but they don't ask for it, and so it's one of these. In fact, I've pulled out Bytes in my games leaving the collection videos before, and I've been like, nah, I can't. I like it too much. I has to hold on to it. Like I do think it's genuinely excellent. My favorite board game tables, my favorite all-play games so far are Ghost of Christmas and On Tour. Those are both excellent. Bytes is also excellent. As much as I enjoy it, it doesn't get pulled out and tabled, unfortunately. And so this one is, again, another one that, an easy addition to the library. Like when it comes to level up a cheap library, some games don't go there. Wildtails is not. River Wild I'll probably put in the library because, like, why not? It's it's easy enough game to play, and the space is very small. But games that I don't think are good aren't going to the library. In fact, one of the, I guess, a testament to how good the selection of games I'm getting rid of is in every single month there are some games I think just aren't good enough that I would not want to put in the library, meaning I would not want it to be something that someone takes off the shelf when they could have taken something else off the shelf. And I think every game I have here today, except for Wildtails and Zombie Kidz, which are, legacy games, I think I guess one more legacy game coming up over here, almost every single game here I think is good enough that it's worth putting into the library. So there's that. Anyways, we have Babylonia from Nublar. It's a great game. It's a great game. I just have better games that are not necessarily better games. This is a solid 4 to 5. I think it's really solid. Reina Knizia, another tile laying game, 60 minutes. It's a good fun time. I think Nublar makes some great games. I think this is accessible. It's easy to play. Just at the end of the day, same problem as usual, which is there's too many games in this space that are competing for, and it's one that doesn't get selected quite off the shelf quite as much. It's really tactically well done. I don't know. It's so hard. Practically speaking, you can't hold on to everything. That's the tricky part. You can't hold on to everything, and so I don't know. It's a tough month. It's a good batch of games. But I look around my room and I look around the basement I'm in and my game room where I have around 350 or so games in my collection. And at the end of the day, you have to get rid of things. And so you look at the things that bring you the most joy and you hold on to those. So when I'm looking at Babylonia, like every part of me wants to hold on to it. It's a great game that I really recommend with many of these games. But then if I'm weighing that up against what else would I get rid of? Would I get rid of Glass Road instead? No, I'd rather play Glass Road. It's phenomenal. What about Bruges? No, Bruges is incredible. It can't go anywhere. Rolling Heights is still amazing. It might be Rolling Heights is the kind of game I could see it getting old over time, but right now I'd rather play Rolling Heights. Encyclopedia, I'd rather play that. Millefiori is very accessible. Different kind of class or mental feel of where I'm going to play this, but I'd rather play Millefiori. I think Babylonia really is excellent. I'm just now in my own head. Do I get rid of Babylonia or not? A lot of what I do when I think about which games to get rid of or not are based around the game groups I'm playing it with and the likelihood of that game being pulled out. Babylonia plays well at 3 and 4, not so much at 2. I think I'm getting rid of it. It's hard. It's really hard. Some of these and again, not like these are good problems to have, but these are good problems to have. I think it's really solid. It's an hour of play. It's light on rules, heavy on strategy. I think it goes. Rush Out. There's going to be less of a, hey, look at that, 2 sit-down games today. I didn't even realize. Rush Out is a fantastic game. I play with my kids. I've had it for like about a year or so. It's a 1 versus many kind of where ideally you play as the 1 while your kids tackle you down, take you down as the boss monster of the dungeon and whatnot, and like a real-time frantically playing cards. Very charming game, very fun, very puzzly. A definite easy addition to any game library. At the end of the day, it's one that I think has limited plays in it. I played with my kids. I've enjoyed it. I don't think we've like finished all the stuff, but we've definitely gone through enough that I'm happy to, move on from it. Then we have Wishland over here. Wishland, another great one. This is, again, good, fun time, easy, accessible fun. They came out with the 3rd edition for the game with some updated, whatnot. That one, I'm not even sure. I don't know. Like, Wishland's good. It's not great. This is one where I can get rid of with less qualms. Like, you can see the qualms with Babylonia. Some of these games I've got. Like, Bytes is a game that I've decided to hold on to multiple times, and then ultimately it just wasn't getting played, so it's time for it to go. But either way, these are more games that are going to go for right now. I think Wishland's just on the lighter side. It's in a mid-weight zone. I said this when I reviewed it, that I both really enjoyed it while also feeling it's a little on the lighter side, but not necessarily the kind of game that I'm going to pull out for a quick fun time with my kids or whatnot, but more, it's just long enough, just heavy enough that it requires a bit more of a mental investment, but it is a good game. I think Dice Tower gave it their, I think Tom Vassell said, I think it was Tom, maybe it was Z, but the best amusement park game in their, top 10 amusement park games. And honestly, amusement park games, I don't think this is necessarily one that I think of as being better. I enjoy Wishland. I recommend Wishland. But I don't know if I have the mental angst that I would have with a game like Babylonia. Then we have Chronicles of Avel. This is another one that I reviewed, and another one I wasn't sure of, but then when I was reflecting on it more, I realized that when I'm looking at the dungeon crawlers I'm going to play with my kids, there's Catacombs of Karak, there's Core Quest, and there's Chronicles of Avel, and from those three, Chronicles of Avel is fun, but it's the lowest of those three for me. It's not a bad game, not by a long shot. I'm charmed by the game, and I think it's well done. And my biggest issue is just that it's fighting with other dungeon crawlers for kids, and that's a category that doesn't get played enough as it is. At the end of the day, like, I play, like, I don't know, 2,000 games a year. My kids probably play 3 to 4 games a week, so like maybe that's, what is that, 150, 200 games a year, and they have a decent collection, plus all the things I constantly introduce them to, which means there's less room for those games to be played quite as much. Their collection is smaller and more tightly curated as a result. They still have, like, they have a full Calyx cubby just for them, but still smaller comparatively speaking to mine. This next one is a hard one. It is a hard one, and this is one of those times where I'm very happy we have the Level Up Retreat library because of Oros, because of games like Oros where I think that they are fantastic. Similar to Lords of Vaala. The biggest problem I have with Oros is just that I think it plays best at 3 and 4 players, and in this weight class, in this time frame, there are games, like I gave it a 4 to 5, and I'd stand by that. I think Oros is fantastic, by Brant Brinkerhoff, well done game, great Euro puzzle of just trying to optimize as far as how you navigate. It's very unique in the feel it gives, which is one of the things I think that I really value about it, that you're trying to like form these volcanoes on these islands, then put these temples, and then move out the track. Meanwhile, you're powering up across a variety of things that just give you your special competitive advantage, while managing points as well. You're trying to manage how you're going to score for different things as you go through the game. Really well done. Overall, I'd say that the biggest issue I have is that it can be a little bit to explain to new players because of how unique it is. It's not immediately intuitive, and then ultimately for the player count and playtime, there are other games I am more inclined to instinctively pull out. Games like, I don't know, Troyes, Bruges, games like Kingopolis, Le Havre. Le Havre's longer, I can't count that one. But there are a lot of games in the similar weight class that, in fact, even Concordia, which is inspired by, one of the inspirations for this game was Concordia, and I'd rather play Concordia. Oros is great. I'm very happy there is a library that I can shove this into, that it will get enjoyed and played by others, because I do recommend it very strongly. Just choices, choices, choices. Speaking of dungeon crawlers that my kids won't play, we have Adventure Tactics Domianne's Tower, which this is one that I put this one in a video a long time ago that I was getting rid of it. I was getting rid of Adventure Tactics. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic, but I'm not going to play it solo. I'm not going to play with my friends. I'm not going to play. The only people I'm going to play with this are my kids. And this is a tough one. Maybe I'll get it back one day. I don't know. Maybe I should make more. Do I ask my daughter if she's going to make time for me on this one? I don't know. Or am I the one who's not making time for her? Basically, the last time I said I was getting rid of this, my daughter saw it on the shelf. She's like, "Oh, we haven't finished it. I want to play it." And I was like, "Okay, I'll put it aside. I will put it aside. We will play it. But here's the deal. If we do not play it at a certain point in time," and this is like, maybe a year ago by now, I said if we don't play it, then it will eventually leave. Maybe I'll give her one more chance. Maybe I'll see. Like, I don't know. It's a good game. It's a really good game. It's a lot of fun. Maybe I'll give her one more chance and see if I make like a weekly night to play this with my daughter. If she's willing to commit to that, I'm going to give it one more chance. We'll see. Either this goes away and you never see it again, or we play it. I don't know. If you see it in a future video, it means that my daughter and I decided to actually give it a shot, or if you hear me talking about it in one of my weekend reviews, talking about the games I'm playing, I'm going to give my daughter a chance to officially schedule this in and see if we play it together or not. And if we don't, we move on. And if we do, then great. Ultimately, I think it's a great game. I'm just not going to play this with my friends, and it is a campaign-based dungeon crawler, so it's kind of like I'm stuck on this one. I'm stuck in a good way. Again, there are great games and hard decisions to be made. It is what it is, unfortunately. From there, we're going to go into a slightly odd one. This is something called MEGAcquire. MEGAcquire was actually sent to me by the person who makes this game. MEGAcquire is a variant of Acquire from somebody who makes a... What's his name again? His name is... I can't find his name. I have his name somewhere, but it is... I don't know. But either way, he made this game called MEGAcquire, which is a version or a variant of Acquire that's like a more hex-based system. Very different, very interesting. He has a few of these versions of the game, and this is just one that, it has, it's very cool, very well done board. For me, ultimately, it's a game inspired by Sid Saxon. Who's the creator? I don't know if it's in here. Is it in here? Maybe not. Maybe not. Does not look like it. It's all about the game. It's all about the game. Acquisition games, graphic design. I don't know. Either way, MEGAcquire is a version of Acquire. This is another one that I'm torn on this one a bit, because my problem with this one is that I'd almost rather just dive directly into Acquire, because usually fan-based versions I don't resonate with as much. It's more that I want to go slightly more mainstream so people know Acquire. MEGAcquire is like a version of Acquire that's, based on fan inspiration and all that. So do I put this one into the Level Up library or not? I don't know. I think it's a great game. I think it's a good version of Acquire, but I'd rather just put Acquire there because that's more known. It's more likely to be pulled off the shelf as opposed to a specific fan-made variant. So I don't know. I'm not entirely sold on this one where it'll go, but I do think it's a well-rated, well-liked version of Acquire for those who want that. And then from there, we have two more. We have one more and then a big one, and I guess this next one is a big one to a degree. This is Jurassic World, which I finally had a chance to finish this one. I did a first impressions, well, I don't know if you want to call it first impressions. I did a review of this one way back when they had the campaign. I was sent this to dive into. This is like a pre-production copy that they had you in the campaign. Jurassic World Legacy, the Legacy of Isla and Nublar, whatever it is. But this is one where I got it to in the campaign, and in order to give you coverage as fast as possible, I played through 7 games. I think if I recall correctly, I played through 7 plays while the campaign was going so I could have coverage for you before the campaign ended. And then I gave a review based off of 7 plays. So enough plays that I definitely had a lot under my belt, but I hadn't finished the 12-game arc, so it wasn't a full, complete picture. Ultimately, where we are right now is I finally had a chance to finally finish this. It took me a while to, it was on the shelf. Once the campaign was over, I just prioritized other things. I came back to this, and over the past few months, finally finished it. And it's good. I debated doing a full other follow-up review, but I can't say my opinion changed on this one. I think Legacy of Isla Nublar is a charming game. I would recommend it as a 2-player or a solo experience. I would not recommend it as a 3 or 4-player experience. The actions you get just are too strongly divided and won't give you a satisfying experience. So in my opinion, I think you won't get enough done at 3 or 4 players. I think it really is going to be best at 2 players. I think it's okay at solo. For context, I have to look back and check my log plays, but for the original 7 episodes, I played the first half of them 2 players and the rest solo. And diving into finish it, I just played the rest solo to just finish it off. So I've had probably about 3/4 of the game has been solo for me, and the first quarter was around 2 players. But I've enjoyed it at both player counts. Prefer it more at 2 players. That sense of companionship is better and stronger as you go through it. So I would recommend it at 2. And then as solo, I like it. Just you lose that sense of story and adventure as you go through it. But ultimately, or was it more the first time around? Maybe the first half was? I don't know. Either way, at least a quarter was 2-player, maybe closer to half. Either way, which I've said 4 times now, I like the game system. I do not love the game system. It's an expensive game, and I think I'd recommend I'd recommend my city or my island, or honestly both, way before I recommend this game. It's not that I do not like this game. I do like the game. I just think the price point relative to what I got out of it, and granted, I did not pay for it. It was a review copy, but even so, I think the price point relative to what you get out of this is not worth it compared to other Legacy games I could recommend. You could get my city, my island, and Pandemic Legacy for the price point of Jurassic World, and I'd recommend getting those 3 first. I like Jurassic World, and if you're here for the theme, that's a different conversation. But I just don't think. I think that's the main trade-off is the price, which was a big point of contention during the campaign. But it is indeed the main trade-off. And so this, as a used Legacy game, is I'm going to take the dinosaurs out and give those to my kids, and then after that, it's going to go away, unfortunately. And then lastly, we have one that I pulled off to do in this video right before. This is like a last-minute addition to this video, and that's going to be my son needs help. I'll be right there, buddy. Okay. The last one we have over here is going to be Super Fantasy Brawl. We have all in over here, and this is definitely going up to level up the treat library. We may already have Super Fantasy Brawl on the level up the treat library. I'll have to double check. But if we don't have it, I'm going to be adding these. But Super Fantasy Brawl is an excellent game, and it makes me sad. It makes me genuinely sad to see this one go. But I think I've realized slowly over the past year plus that this one doesn't really get tabled quite as much. And it's something I've talked about. I've done a whole, compare and contrast between God Tier and Super Fantasy Brawl. I think ultimately Super Fantasy Brawl was charming when I first got it. It was very charming, and I enjoyed it. And then Season 2 came out, I enjoyed that, and I dove into it as well. But since then, the more I've played it, the more I kind of see it as an intro to skirmish games, which I think it is a good intro to skirmish games, but I think it doesn't have the tactical strength or appeal that some other skirmish games have. It's accessible, it's easy to dive into, it has some of the best miniatures I've ever seen, and it's overall a good time. But more often than not, I find the cards play you and you're not playing the cards. You just don't have enough agency or selection of what's going on. Past the pre-campaign draft, which is a factor, sure, but I don't think I have enough control over what's happening on the battlefield compared to other skirmish games. And so to that end, I think that I've realized I'd rather play Rum and Bones. I'd rather play any MOBA game. I'd rather play God Tier. I'd rather play a lot of games over Super Fantasy Brawl, even as I do appreciate Super Fantasy Brawl. This is a hard one. This is a hard one for me. I think that, it was a 4 to 5 for me. I don't know if I ever got higher than that, but it's always been a good, strong 4 to 5. I think it's shifted down to like a 3.5 out of 5 for me. It has unfortunately shifted down a bit in terms of how much I appreciate it. Not because, I like it. I just think that the more I've played it, the more I've seen some of the cracks and how good of a game it is, at least for me. And that's where we are. That is where we are with all of these games. These are the games leaving the collection for the month of August. A lot of games, some fantastic games. This is one of the best culls I've had in a long time as far as just really good across the board good games that I recommend, past a few legacy choices. And then again, Riverwild is like, you know, it's okay. And the funny thing about Riverwild is it's designed by Stephen Armani, who is the designer of Sprawlopolis, which is one of my favorite Button Shy games, and Ancient Realms, which is one of my newest favorite Button Shy games, and this one was a miss for me. Which, I mean, at the end of the day, not every game will be a hit in general, and not every game will be a hit for each individual person. So, like, someone else might love Riverwild, not for me, and that just happens. But I just find it interesting, because I would think from him that I'd be more inclined to like it. But it was okay. Either way, a great month, a great batch of games, a sad batch of games, because very few of these am I completely okay with. I'm reluctantly okay with a bunch going away. I'm sadder about a few of these. And just space has to be constantly made. I came back from Gen Con with a lot of games. And I mean, I came back with maybe 50-ish games. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We have 17 games leaving. It does not make up the space. It does not do it. New games are always coming out. New games are always constantly coming out, and you have to choose both what you get in your collection in the first place, as well as what stays in your collection. I find every single year I play 350-ish new games in that range. At least as a content creator diving into it, I play a lot of new games, and from those, around 10 of them will be games that I love, I adore, and stay around for a very, very long time. Around another 10 to 20 of them will be games that I really, really like and stick around for anywhere from, you know, a year to 3 years. I mean, Super Fantasy Brawl, I think, has been around for maybe 2.5 years by now, 2.5, maybe 3 years. It's been sticking around, so it has had a lasting impact on my collection. It has had, I don't know, 20, 30 plays under my belt of the game. I've definitely enjoyed it. Ultimately, not every game has to be around forever. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.